It's a very good evening and welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondi. Now, Unilever South Africa is currently running its Tweet for a Tree campaign. They plan to plant 1 million trees from 1 million tweets. We'll tell you about how that campaign is going. Tonight's Heritage Month insert will look at something most people can't live without, the telephone. Jayshree Naidu from Standard Bank will join us later to talk about digital disruption. We are live, so find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's News Network at sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your technology and social media news. Now, Unilever is using social media for a campaign to save South African forests. The Tweet for a Tree campaign aims to get people to share 1 million hashtags so 1 million trees can be planted. The United Nations has said there's been a slowdown of deforestation, but despite this, it's still a major concern. That's why Unilever South Africa has started its Tweet for a Tree campaign. They're using social media to get at least 1 million tweets in order to plant 1 million trees.
Social media is the place where you reach young people. And we all know that most of the young people in the world are forever on their phones or on their laptops, talking to each other and sharing things that are important to them.
So as part of the campaign, Unilever hosted the exclusive Urban Jungle Sound Experience concert. They only invited 500 celebrities and people that are most active in social media so they could share the Tweet for a Tree hashtag with their followers. And the organization is optimistic that this was a good start that will lead to its targeted 1 million tweets.
We will not stop when we reach 1 million. So far, we've actually reached over 100,000 pledges since we started this past weekend.
Unilever will work with the government and wildlands to identify forests that need restoration for the campaign. Familiarize yourselves with this electronic device. This is because if you stay in a small 4-roomed house, a flat or a townhouse, this could be just the device to help save your life. It's called the Memeza Community Sector Alarm and has been developed by a tech incubator at the Innovation Hub in Pretoria. Network's Dilek Khaswane tells us more about the device on the eve of its possible rollout in Gauteng.
This is the sound scaring of thieves in the township of Diepsloot in Johannesburg. And it's coming from this proudly South African device called the Memeza Community Sector Alarm. It is fast becoming a common sound in crime-ridden Diepsloot as it lets residents know that one of their own is in danger. The system is generated and monitored by a non-profit tech incubator called the Memeza Community Safety.
Diepsloot as a sector is set up with certain permissions and relative response vehicles that are linked to Diepsloot. So whenever a device goes off in Diepsloot, those SMSs goes to the relevant vehicles, sector commanders, station commanders, shift commanders, whatever the case might be.
But before the police can come to your rescue, one has to alert them first. And there are various electronic and convenient ways of doing this.
This is the eye or the sensor. That means when you leave the house, you activate the alarm. Even if you forget to activate the alarm, once you're at work, because it's GSM based, or once you're in Cape Town, you can still activate your alarm from your cell phone. Now, once the eye is activated, any intruder that comes into the house, the alarm will be activated. The siren, the strobe will go off, and SMSs will be sent to you and your neighbors. The first one at the top in blue, it's your police panic button. Now, your ambulance button, if you press it, the ambulances that are operating in your area will come to your rescue. The last one is your fire button.
The Memeza Community Safety device sells for less than 2,000 rands and with a monthly subscription of 99 rands.
Let's continue with our weekly tribute to Heritage Month here in South Africa. Last week, we listened in on the evolution of technology in musical production. This week, we speak about the evolution of telephone technology with the help of some Johannesburg residents and Pritesh Suraj, a digital expert.
10 years back. I can't remember.
I don't know, 3 years? I think 3 years. Yeah. No, I think it's been 3 years.
My name is TweetForATree. I'm the CEO and Chief Innovation Analyst at Product of the Year South Africa, and I'm here to give you some great advice in terms of how the usage of mobile phones has evolved on the African continent over the past few years. We've moved from needing airtime for the purposes of calls and SMSs to using our airtime for data. So the real evolution has been from a device that delivered on a limited number of functions to a device that gives us multiple platforms and ways to communicate with the people around our world.
Okay, well, I like my phone because of the apps. They make life easier. For example, I've got note apps, so when I need to create a to-do list, for example, I can create one and make sure I get certain things done during the week.
People don't use their smartphones to the full potential on the African continent, and I think it's a simple reason is, one, the apps in the App Store and the way they actually develop is for a developed market. Within a developing market like ours, we need to actually think about how can we create apps that work for our community and for people within this country.
Smartphone, yeah, this one I can phone sharp for the downloads and what and so forth. But for now, yeah, I'll go for this one for now.
Now I'm using this one because I can't deal with people being always on WhatsApp with me. I don't have time to myself. So with this one, it's easy. Call me or not.
There's still a high prevalence of feature phones in the market. These are devices that can go 5 to 7 days between charges, and these are the devices that people rely on as the hardcore primary device that they go back to.
I wouldn't say I have an emotional attachment. I can live without a phone.
I wouldn't say I'm emotionally attached because I can actually live without my phone.
There will always be a group of people who feel that we should not be allowing electronic devices to be part of us as human beings, and where does the line stop between what makes us human and what makes us a machine or whatever else may be. But it's inevitable in the same way that we've embraced mobile phones, embraced cars, embraced technology in so many different ways of our lives. It's inevitable that we're going to embrace it in some way in terms of it being as part of us.
Let's take a look at what's been doing the rounds in the tech world this week.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the SABC News Tech Wrap. I'm Nicole Jackie. And I'm Madiba Sibanyoni. We are coming to you from the Standard Bank Playroom here in Rosebank. Earlier this week, Standard Bank, in partnership with messaging platform WeChat, launched Always On Banking, a service that enables you to use instant messaging to chat to your bank.
The service, which is a first for South African banks, enables customers who have private and prestige banking accounts to chat with their personal banker using the WeChat messaging platform. Customers will have to download and register with WeChat. They will then have to provide their WeChat ID to their private banker, who will verify and register them, after which they will be able to chat to their banker any time of the day.
Still on the local front, online news platform News24.com recently announced that they will be getting rid of their comment section, something that did not sit pretty well with their readers.
News24.com says that they believe the comment sections on the news site are not adding significant value to their content offering and the user's experience.
Now, popular photo sharing app Instagram this week opened its platform to advertisers seeking to make more money and compete with rivals, including Snapchat.
Advertisements on Instagram had only been available in few countries. Now more than 200 countries will have ads by September 30th. Advertisers had been clamoring for a chance to get on the increasingly popular app to tap its user base of teenagers to young adults and its ability to leverage data from Facebook, the world's largest social media network with 1.5 billion users.
Smartphone giant Apple revealed its latest product this week, a move that received very mixed reactions from both consumers and investors.
Apple unveiled its new flagship smartphone, the iPhone 6s.
I am thrilled to show you the newest iPhones.
As if that wasn't enough, the company also unveiled the latest iPad and Apple TV set-top box. However, technology analysts feel that Apple could have done more to upgrade the new products.
I was glad to see that Apple upgraded the Apple TV, but I think they could have done more.
The new 6S and 6X Plus versions of the iPhone, Apple's biggest money maker, are the same size as the previous versions but come with a better camera, faster chips, new colors and the force-sensitive 3D touch. The availability of the devices in South Africa is yet to be confirmed.
So Matives, did you see that they actually revealed the stylus as well?
I know, but isn't that something Steve Jobs was always against?
He was totally against that, and they've actually been doing a lot of things that he's against, but I guess it's the new generation Apple.
Gaming console PlayStation celebrated its 20th anniversary this week. The company posted a video on YouTube taking us through memory lane.
And here it is, the original PlayStation. Now the PlayStation has a dual-speed CD-ROM drive. It's got 360,000 polygons per second, pumps out 16.8 million colors. It's got 2 megabytes of RAM and 1 megabyte of video RAM. So at the time, in 1995, a very powerful piece of hardware.
That's it from us this week. Catch us again next week for another round of the most interesting tech stories during the rounds. I am Lebogang Sejake.
And I am Matiba Sibanyoni.
And from us, it's ciao.
And look at how far PlayStation has come. After the break, we discuss digital disruptions with Jayshree Naidu. Stay with us.
Good. Point. Sit.
Get behind Rugby World Cup 2015 on SABC.
SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now the internet has moved storytelling to the digital world. Internationally, we have even seen the likes of the sites like Netflix producing really popular programs. Because of this, a conference called Digital Edge took place in the Sandton Convention Center.
Our challenge is to find ways to direct and shape the tone of the narrative.
Marketers, actors,
my agent works for me,
filmmakers, all met in the Sandton Convention Center for this year's Digital Edge. The main purpose was to talk about digital storytelling and how technology can be used to tell stories, especially now that we can get internet on our phones, tablets and laptops.
Disruptive technologies like the internet, virtual reality and artificial intelligence, technologies that we've really only been experimenting with for the past 20 years, will change the shape of narrative forever.
75 years ago, Hollywood stars in the US fought to ban a predictive statistical technique that could estimate the success of new films before they were released. That technique was developed by David Ogilvy when he started using Gallup polls to research audiences and understand how films would perform at the box office.
This conference shows massive growth of digital tools when it was just an idea.
When the Digital Edge began 7 years ago, it was a podcast as well, and the desire was to try and create awareness among South African marketers, South African agencies about the power of digital and the changing landscape of digital. And we had an annual event that was really just an add-on to the podcast. Well, the annual event got bigger and got more successful. The podcast remained small and niche, so eventually we decided to shelve that and really just focus on this once-a-year event.
These days, South Africa has seen many players enter the digital marketing and streaming industries. The growth of these industries also shows the importance of digital edge.
Already, the world says that, okay, these are the black people, so in a movie, you die first, okay?
No.
You know, and
I usually die first, buddy.
What I'm saying.
Oh man, now digital disruption is the change that occurs when new digital technologies and business modules affect the value proposition of existing business. The rapid increase in the use of mobile devices for personal use and work has increased in the potential for digital disruption across many industries. To talk more about these changes in an incubator is incubator head at Standard Bank, Jayshree Naidu. Hello, Jayshree.
Hi, Sibu. How are you?
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Jayshree, if you can just tell us how one would define digital disruptions.
So we see digital disruption as any organization that's using technology to disrupt a traditional industry. So some of the more popular examples are organizations like Uber that have disrupted the taxi industry by using technology. So it's the largest taxi type provider without owning any vehicles. The other example is Airbnb, which is one of the biggest providers of accommodation, but they own no real estate. So we're seeing these type of disruptions to the traditional industry. In the financial services sector, there are several fintech companies that are currently disrupting our industry as well.
Now, you talking about international companies like Uber, like Airbnb. Are we seeing any local examples in any industry of this?
Definitely. So I'm not at liberty to speak about it right now, but there's one that's identical to Uber, which we call a semi-radical innovation, but that's an organization that's taking the Uber model but applying it to South African constraints and challenges and bringing that model into South Africa as well. So they are definitely disruptors. We see quite a few social innovators disrupting the traditional agri space and the bio space as well. So there's disruptors across industry sectors that we're seeing in South Africa.
You're not at liberty to talk about it?
No, I am at liberty to talk about some of so I'm an adjudicator on several award processes. So for example, the winner of the recent Seed Stars is disrupting the recruitment industry, and the winner was a company called Giraffe. It's recruiting using social platforms as well as online platforms. You know, there's logistics providers using drone technology, barcodes and optical character recognition, doing warehouse solutions and stock take. So there are several examples that we see in South Africa as well, coming out of amazing incubators. You saw one earlier in your show that alerts individuals of panic situations. We saw one at the SAB Foundation Awards last week where it's alerting other shack owners of fires. So there are several amazing technologies that's disrupting existing industries.
Can a business nowadays say it doesn't want to go digital, or it doesn't want to use digital to disrupt what it wants to do?
So if the organization wants to stay as is and does not want to get involved in disruption, then no need to go digital. But as soon as you talk about disrupting your existing business model, digital is the way to go, because more consumers are dictating the use of digital to address certain key constraints and challenges and to get up-to-date information. And it doesn't matter whether you have a smartphone or an old school phone like you saw earlier as well. Every device helps to become digitally connected.
Jayshree, we've seen the resistance of some of these new tools that are being used in various industries. Uber, for example, all over the world is facing resistance. Is that what we're going to continue seeing when there are new players like Uber, which doesn't own any taxis, but it's disrupting the taxi space and it's facing resistance from the traditional service? Are we likely to see that? Are we seeing a lot of that? Of that resistance?
Oh, you'll definitely find resistance. You know, as long as there's new business models and there's change, you will find resistance. If you think about 20 to 50 years ago, as soon as new technology was introduced into the market, so the first time Windows was introduced, there was a disruption. And there was resistance to that change because there's a skills resistance. I don't have the skills to use this product or service. But there's also the fear in terms of loss of jobs, as is the case with the Uber model in South Africa, where we get resistance from the current taxi industry to this amazing service. And there's ways to bring in those individuals into the conversations. So as South Africa, what we need to be wary of is the huge resistance to change that's part of who we are, and how do we include individuals in the conversations before we bring these types of models into the country as well.
And should those individuals and old school companies embrace technology and embrace the change, no?
They should embrace the change, but they should become part of the change. I use Uber quite often, and many of the taxi drivers were traditional taxi drivers, and they're now using the Uber model. They find that it's easier to use, they're getting more business, so it's about embracing the change as opposed to resisting it.
This is going to be one of the things that's going to be spoken about at the Wired Women Conference later this year.
Yes, it's one of those topics, but the main aim of the conference is to address the digital divide that exists for women in technology, but also to showcase opportunities and how women can use technology to grow their businesses and disrupt their businesses.
And your focus at Wired Women?
So I'll be sitting on a panel talking about digital disruption and beyond incubation, and what women can get from incubation support and technology support to grow their businesses.
All right, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Jayashree Naidu is with Standard Bank here in South Africa. Now, this week we caught up with actor Robert Hobbs, who told us about his favorite piece of technology. Let's take a look.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Kunene?
I drive a taxi.
You do all your passengers pay with 100 Rand notes?
People need transport.
Hi, my name is Robert Hobbs. I am an actor. My favorite piece of technology would probably be my new Smeg oven, which I absolutely love. It's all kind of electronic and does all cool things with chicken and stuff. And it's basically a cool piece of technology because it's something I get to share with my family and get to spend time with them around. So your days are numbered.
Across the globe, locally, and on the entire continent. Every second, every minute, and every hour. There's always a breaking story. We commit to giving you the most important, significant, and interesting news. That's why it is not a surprise that more Africans are tuning to SABC News to find out what is happening. Because when news break, we've got you covered. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
We are on News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Thank you very much for staying with us. A lot of women love makeup. Now, a new application to help women try on makeup virtually using a smartphone was recently launched in the United States of America. Here's how it works.
This lady is trying something new on her walk down the store's beauty aisle. Instead of wondering how this lipstick will look on her, she's trying it on, virtually using her smartphone.
We can mix and match between brands, shades, products, so we can get a full look and decide what is the best look for us. And we can compare between different looks.
Ladies can now try on makeup using a new app called Try It On. The app allows you to snap a selfie and then scan the barcodes of makeup products, and in just 2 seconds, it shows you how the product looks on you.
We are analyzing the pigmentation from 26 different dots on the face, and we are doing an average skin tone. And then we extract the eye color and the hair color in order to gain specific characteristics for each customer.
Try It On recently launched in the USA and works with some of the world's most popular cosmetic brands.
The conversation in the studio is that phones have become too smart. I guess that's why they're called smartphones. Now let's see what some people have been sharing in social media. A new species that could have resulted in modern-day humans has been found in South Africa. It's been named Homo naledi. The ancient species has been a major chatting point in social media. Saturday, September 12 was the day the late anti-apartheid campaigner Steve Biko was killed by apartheid police. He was the founder of the Black Consciousness Movement. Many were tweeting his quotes. The Democratic Alliance's Vision 2029 has been trending. The DA says it is its document to promote opportunity, fairness and freedom. And that's all we have for you. Remember to find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. We're on News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Tonight we leave you with visuals showing off South Africa and the world's new find. It's what could be the ancestor of humans, Homo naledi. From me and the rest of the world, and the rest of the network team rather, have a good one. Bye-bye.
We are not the only ones who were able to bury our dead. There were other species that did so. Today, we also catch a glimpse of our own future.
I was here, I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was more than I thought it would be. I will leave my mark so everyone will know I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I